There is a number inside of your Google Ads account that a lot of business owners don't even know about, or they completely ignore, and that is your quality score. And so today we are going to be doing a deep dive into what exactly is a quality score, why does it matter or does it matter, and how to increase your score just beyond changing your H1 title tag. So before we get into everything, I want to make something clear. Quality score is not a number that your campaign should live and die by. It is not something that you need to panic over every time a keyword is sitting at a 2 or a 3, and it is definitely not the main number you should use to decide whether your Google ads are working or not. Your profit matters more, your lead quality matters more, your booked jobs, the amount of booked calls coming into your business and that revenue matters a lot more than what your quality score is. But the quality score is still really useful because it works kind of like a diagnostic tool. So it's kind of like a warning light on your dashboard. If your check engine light comes on, you don't immediately know what's wrong. So it could be something tiny, like your gas cap is open, or it could be something a lot more serious. But you probably shouldn't just cover it up with a tape and keep driving. And so quality score kind of works the same way. A low score doesn't automatically mean that the keyword is bad, but it does mean that Google sees some kind of disconnect between the search, the ad, and your landing page. And that disconnect can make your ads more expensive, less visible, and less effective. So the goal here is not to chase a perfect 10 on every keyword. That's usually not realistic and honestly not even worth it. But the goal is to learn how to read your quality score correctly so that you can spot the parts of your account where better alignment could help improve your performance. Okay, so let's start with going over quickly what exactly is the quality score. And so quality score is a number from 1 to 10 that Google shows you at the keyword level. So every keyword is given this score. And a 1 is poor and a 10 is strong. And so it's meant to give you a rough sense of how Google sees your ad quality compared to other advertisers showing for similar searches. And the big thing that people don't realize is that Google itself says that the quality score is not a diagnostic tool, not a key performance indicator. In the visible 1 to 10 score you see in the account, that's not actually the input that Google uses in the live auctions. The live auction uses real-time quality signals that update in the moment. So then why should we care about quality score at all? On average, keywords that have a higher quality score pay less per click compared to campaigns where that same keyword has a lower quality score. So if you have a higher quality score, then you get a lower cost per click, which makes your budget stretch further. It can also affect how your ads show. It can affect your ad position, and it can affect how efficiently your budget actually works. So then the next question I get all the time is, should every keyword in my ad group have a 10 out of 10 score? And my answer is no. We'll get into that deeper in this video as to why, but you don't want to chase a 10 on every keyword just to chase a 10. Sometimes the highest value keyword in your entire account is going to sit at a 6, maybe a 5. And maybe that's because it's a competitive search with mixed intent and there's no clean, perfect match landing page for it. And that's okay. The goal isn't to decorate your account with perfect scores. The goal is to use your quality score to find the places where better alignment will improve your account's performance. Okay, so let's look at how quality score is actually calculated. So when you look at any keyword in Google Ads, you can see quality score broken into 3 pieces: expected click-through rate, your landing page experience, and ad relevance. And then each one gets rated as below average, average, or above average. These 3 components are where the actual work lies. So let's go through each one of them one by one. So component 1, your expected click-through rate. The expected click-through rate is Google's estimate of how likely your ad is to be clicked on when it shows up. And this one can be a little bit trickier because part of it is based on how your competitors' click-through rates are as well. So you might have a keyword with a 6% click-through rate, which is not bad, but if your competitors have a 7% or an 8% click-through rate, Google is obviously going to prefer their ads and rate your expected click-through rate lower. So the goal here is to overall improve your own click-through rate. And so one way that you can do that is with your ad copy. And this is not just like, did you put keywords in the headline? That is important, but the bigger question when your ad shows up next to other options on the search results page, does it look like the one that people are going to click on? So let's say that someone searches plantar fasciitis treatment near me. So a weak headline might be podiatry clinic. It's technically relevant. A podiatrist does treat plantar fasciitis. The clinic itself does treat plantar fasciitis, but it's bland and it doesn't specifically match what the searcher searched for. It could be really like any podiatry clinic in any city. So now let's compare that to a headline that says plantar fasciitis treatment or heel pain relief options. That ad is directly answering the search that the person typed in. It is very specific and it connects the searcher directly to the problem that they are searching for. And so then it gives that person a clear reason as to why they should click on your ad. So if your expected click-through rate is below average, this is usually the lever, because headlines that match the searcher's actual problem, clearer call to actions, strong benefit language, those types of headlines do help increase your own click-through rate. And another thing here that I think is underrated when it comes to click-through rate are your ad assets, your site links, your callouts, your structured snippets, the call asset for service businesses. Now, assets don't show up as their own neat little quality score lever, and Google has said that assets themselves don't affect your expected click-through rate, but it has been shown that using the site links and using your assets do improve your actual click-through rate, which then over time will increase your expected click-through rate. And a third thing that helps increase your expected click-through rate are negative keywords. And we'll get into this deeper later on because negative keywords actually impacts all three components of the quality score. So it's a really, really big one. And it's a huge reason to why you want to make sure that you're going through your search terms regularly and excluding the ones that don't match your service. It will help increase your overall click-through rate, which again, in turn, increases your expected click-through rate. So moving on to component 2, your ad relevance. Ad relevance is how closely your ad matches the intent behind the search. So this is where account structure starts to really matter. So if you've got an ad group that's stuffed with too many loosely related keywords, your ad has to become generic enough to cover all of them. And generic ads, they don't feel like the perfect answer to really any one of the search terms. An example would be like if you have one ad group with keywords like heel pain treatment, plantar fasciitis doctor, custom orthotics, foot surgeon near me, podiatrist for running injuries. Now, those are all related to a podiatry clinic, and a podiatrist does do all of them, but they don't have the same intent. Someone searching for custom orthotics is in a completely different headspace than someone searching for a foot surgeon near them. And then if you have one ad that is trying to speak to all of those different search terms, it's going to start to feel watered down to all of them. So then the fix to this is to break things into tighter ad groups around intent themes. And so it's not one keyword per ad group that's outdated and overkilled, but it should be one clear intent per ad group. And so for this podiatrist example, that might look like an ad group for plantar fasciitis searches, another one for heel pain searches, another ad group for custom orthotics searches, another one for general podiatrist near me type searches. And so by doing that, we can then create ads within that ad group that speaks specifically to the intent of that ad group. And so your plantar fasciitis ad group, the ad that shows up for that ad group would all be talking about plantar fasciitis treatment and that type of verbiage. And another thing that helps to increase your ad relevancy, like the previous component, is your headlines and descriptions as well. So making sure that those keywords that you are using are also in your headlines and descriptions. And then just like component 1 is your negative keywords. If your ad is showing for irrelevant searches or a competitor name, your ad is not going to be relevant to those searches. So similar to the expected click-through rate, just by cleaning up your search terms, you are increasing your click-through rate as well as your ad relevancy. And then component 3 is your landing page experience. And so the landing page experience is Google's read on how relevant and useful your landing page is to the people who clicked on the ad. And I think most people think about the landing page experience as having your main keyword as your H1 title and your header, but it goes way beyond that. The two main levers for landing page experience is page speed and content relevancy. A page that loads in half a second but has really weak content still going to be a bad experience. Whereas a page that loads really slowly, the person isn't even going to stick around long enough to see what's on the page. So you do need both, and page speed is where I would start, because if your page is slow, it is going to affect every single keyword that points to that landing page. Whereas if your content is weaker, then that's only going to affect a few keywords. So beyond the page speed, when it comes to content relevancy for a service-based business, when someone lands on your page, they immediately need a few answers to some of their questions, like, are they in the right place? Does this company actually solve the problem that I'm searching for? Where are they located and do they serve me? Can I trust them? What should I do next? And can I do all of that easily on my phone? Because most people nowadays are searching from their phone. So if the page above the fold, if your hero section or your header doesn't immediately answer those questions, then the landing page experience is going to suffer. And so will your conversion rate, by the way, which honestly matters a whole lot more. Now, I want to go back to the H1 thing because this is a common fix that I see people try, and I want to explain why it usually doesn't move the needle just on its own. So putting your keyword in the H1 can help with clarity for the searcher, so it's definitely not nothing. It is important to have that. If someone searches plantar fasciitis treatment and your page headline says plantar fasciitis treatment, that's better than a vague foot care services headline. But if the rest of the page is generic or slow, or it's hard to navigate, or it's not clear the next step that you want them to take, then the H1 isn't going to save it. So then a better version would be if the H1 says plantar fasciitis treatment for heel pain, then the opening copy actually explains the symptoms of plantar fasciitis, what it feels like, what causes it. Then the page walks through the symptoms and the podiatrist being the fix for those symptoms, treatment options, the appointment process, insurances that you work with, your location, and really, really important is a very, very clear call to action and the next steps that you want that person to take. So the H1 is like a signpost and it is important. It definitely helps, but the whole page still has to deliver on what that sign promised. Okay, so let's get a little bit more tactical. So if you're starting at a 2 or 3 in your account on a specific keyword and you're trying to figure out what to do about it, here's the workflow that I would run. So the step 1 is pull up the quality score columns. So in your keyword view, add columns for quality score, expected click-through rate, ad relevancy, and landing page experience. So I wouldn't try to diagnose anything until you can actually see those components and what the actual problem might be. Step 2 is sort by impact, not by lowest score. And so this is where some people can waste a lot of time. They might see a score of 3 out of 10 on some random keyword and they spend their whole afternoon trying to fix it. But that keyword only spent $2 in the last month. So really improving that keyword isn't going to do much for your account. So then start with your keywords that actually matter, that have the most impressions, the most clicks, the spending the most money. A 2 out of 10 on a keyword spending a few $100s a month, that is what I would look at first. And so fixing that can actually improve performance and move the account forward. Step 3 is then you identify the weak component. So you look at which of the 3 is below average, and then you act accordingly to improve it. So if expected click-through rate is the problem, then you're working on your ad copy, your offer clarity, stronger call to actions, better assets, and probably cleaning up your search terms. If ad relevancy is the problem, then you are tightening your ad groups, splitting keywords by intent, maybe creating multiple ad groups, writing more specific ads for those ad groups. Sometimes you're removing keywords that just don't belong to be there. And if landing page experience is the problem, then you're working on the page itself. So your relevancy and your speed, your mobile usability, the trust signals, the clarity, your call to action flow, the whole experience. And then step 4 is check your search terms. This is huge for service businesses, and it's the step that honestly most people miss. If the actual search terms coming through your account don't match your service, so if you're matching to weird low intent stuff or a lot of competitors' names, your quality score is going to suffer, as well as your overall performance of the account. And that's because Google sees a disconnect between what the people are searching for and what your ad says, and then where they end up on your landing page. So by consistently going through your search terms and adding in the negative keywords for the junk queries, you're going to increase your ad relevancy and your click-through rate, which is huge. And then step 5, I would recommend only making one meaningful change at a time. I know it's tempting to rewrite every ad, rebuild every page, restructure every single account on the same day. Don't. Unless your account is genuinely a mess, make a diagnosis, fix the biggest issue, and then watch the data. Otherwise, you'll have no idea what worked to move that needle forward. Some of the biggest questions I get asked when we are talking about quality score is how long does it take to see improvement after you've made some changes? And technically, Google calculates the quality score every time an auction happens, or every time that keyword enters the auction. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the numbers that you see on platform change and update instantly. It can take a couple of days, sometimes a couple of weeks, depending on search volume and how quickly Google gets enough new data to reevaluate everything. So lower volume keywords take longer just because there isn't enough data flowing through and not as many searches as higher volume search terms. So instead, when you make changes, you can watch some leading indicators first. So are you seeing a better overall click-through rate, better conversion rate, cleaner search terms coming through? Is better engagement happening on your page? If those are moving in the right direction, your quality score will usually follow. And another question I get asked all the time is, can you realistically get a 7 or higher on every keyword? And honestly, no. And it's usually not worth trying to get a perfect 10 on every keyword or even a 7 out of 10 on every keyword. Some keywords are inherently broader. Some searches have mixed intent. Some markets are just brutally competitive. And sometimes you can't perfectly satisfy a searcher's query without creating a weirdly thin, hyper-specific landing page that ends up worse for conversions than the page you already have. So yes, improve the weak quality scores where there's a real opportunity. But no, don't rebuild your whole account just because one decent keyword is sitting at a 4 or 5. So you want your quality score to be high enough that it isn't holding you back, but the real goal is still qualified leads and profitable revenue, not necessarily a perfect looking keyword table. But at the end of the day, the overall goal with Google Ads, like I said in the beginning of this video, is to bring you business. So just because a quality score is below a 6 or 7 doesn't mean that you should necessarily turn that keyword off or pause it, but it does warrant a deeper look. Look at the amount of conversions that it's brought in and at what cost. Sometimes your most profitable keyword might be rated a 4 or 5, and you definitely don't want to pause that if that is what is driving the most revenue to your business. But 9 times out of 10, when quality score is low and is starting to become an issue, it's because the overall account structure needs some work. So if you're grouping all of your keywords in one ad group and wondering how exactly you should be structuring them instead, head over to this video here and I'll show you exactly how to structure your search campaigns. So I'll see you over there.